I shouldn't have heard her breathing. The door was locked. The lights were off. I was alone, or so I thought. But beneath the bed, something shifted. Not once. Not twice. Every night. At exactly 3:14 a.m. It knew my name. It whispered it in a voice that wasn't human. And last night, it didn't stay under the bed. What it did next, I can't unhear it. I moved into room 307 for the cheapest rent in the city. No questions asked, no references needed. The building, a crumbling brick relic from the 1920s, stood half-hidden between two newer high-rises, like it had been forgotten by time. The windows were too dark. The lobby smelled of damp wool and something faintly metallic, like old pipes or older blood. My name doesn't matter anymore. Not after what happened. But back then, I was just someone trying to outrun a failing job, a broken relationship, and the quiet spiral of loneliness that had been tightening around me for months. The hostel promised anonymity, silence, a place to disappear. And at first, it delivered. The room was small. Barely enough space for a twin bed, a chipped nightstand, and a closet with a door that wouldn't close all the way. The wallpaper peeled at the seams, revealing patches of blackened plaster beneath, as if water damage had rotted the walls from within. But the worst part? The silence. Not peaceful, not calming. It was the kind of silence that pressed against your eardrums, thick and unnatural, like the building was holding its breath. The other tenants kept to themselves. I'd catch glimpses, shadowed figures at the end of the hall, a woman in a faded blue dress staring from her doorway, an old man who always seemed to be counting something under his breath. But no one spoke. No laughter. No TVs. Just footsteps in the night, always stopping right outside my door. The first night, I found a single muddy footprint on the linoleum floor. Small, child-sized, though I was certain I'd locked the door. I told myself it was left by the previous tenant. I told myself a lot of things in those early days. But the truth was already settling in, like cold seeping through the floorboards. This place didn't want me to stay. It wanted me to listen. It started with the breathing. Not mine. Not anyone's I could see. But every night, just after 3 a.m., a slow, wet inhale would rise from beneath the bed, like lungs drowning in fluid. I'd freeze, heart slamming against my ribs, straining to hear over the silence. Then, nothing. Just the drip of the faucet in the bathroom, irregular and too loud. I checked under the bed. Of course I did. Empty. Dust, a lost sock, the cold concrete floor. But the smell, thick and sour, like rotting meat wrapped in wet cloth, lingered for hours after. Then came the whispers. At first, I thought it was the wind slipping through the cracked window. A hiss, a murmur, just beyond comprehension. But one night, half awake and drenched in sweat, I heard it clearly. Asterisk, you're next. Asterisk, the voice was hollow, layered, like multiple people speaking at once, mouths full of dirt. I stopped sleeping. I kept the lights on. But the bulb in the ceiling fixture flickered constantly, as if something were drawing power from the walls. And when it died for good, I replaced it, only to find the new bulb blackened by morning, as if burned from the inside out. The mirrors began to change. Not all at once. Subtle. My reflection would lag a second behind my movements. Then, in the corner of the glass, I'd catch a shape. A small figure, crouched in the bathtub watching. When I turned, nothing was there. But the tub would be wet, dripping, as if someone had just stepped out. I tried to leave, packed my bag, turned the knob, only to find the door wouldn't open. Not locked, not jammed. It was as if the frame had shifted, the wood swelling shut like a wound sealing over. When I finally yanked it open, the hallway was different. Longer. The numbers on the doors were scratched out. And from somewhere deep below, a child's laughter echoed, high-pitched, joyless, cutting through the dark like a knife. That's when I found the notebook, tucked behind the baseboard near the closet. Its pages are brittle and stained. Names, dates, dozens of them. Each one was crossed out in jagged red ink. Mine was on the last page. Not written. I swore I hadn't written it. But there, in my handwriting, Asterisk Elias room 307, still breathing. Asterisk. And beneath it, something else, in a hand that wasn't mine. Asterisk not for long. Asterisk. The air grew heavier after that. Thick, hard to breathe. And every night, the thing under the bed didn't just breathe. Crawled. The night it came out, the power didn't flicker. It died. All at once. The lights went black. The hum of the distant radiator cut off. Even the dripping faucet fell silent, as if the entire building were holding its breath. I fumbled for my phone, hands shaking, but the screen wouldn't turn on. Dead. Every device in the room dead. And in that suffocating dark, I heard it. The slow, wet drag of something moving across the floor. Not under the bed. Asterisk beside asterisk it. I couldn't move. My body locked, muscles frozen. As the air thickened with the stench of decay, wet earth, spoiled milk, and beneath it all, the coppery tang of blood. Then warmth. A breath on my ankle. Deliberate. Testing. I kicked, screamed, scrambled backward, slamming into the wall. My fingers clawed at the peeling wallpaper, desperate for purchase, for escape. But the door, where was the door? In the dark, I couldn't find it. The room had changed. Smaller, warped, the ceiling sagging like flesh. And then I saw it. A shape low to the ground, pulling itself from beneath the bed. Not a man, not a child. A thing. Twisted, limbs too long and bent the wrong way, skin glistening like wet parchment stretched over bone. Its head lolled to one side, jaw unhinged, hanging by strips of blackened tendon. And its eyes wide, milky, knowing locked onto mine. It didn't rush me. It smiled. A slow, grotesque stretching of its ruined mouth, revealing rows of tiny, needle-like teeth. And then it spoke. Not in words, but in voices. My mother's, my ex's, the old man from the hall, the woman in blue, all whispering at once, overlapping, chanting in a language that slithered into my skull. Asterisk. You were always here. You never left. You're one of us now. Asterisk. I backed into the closet, fumbling for the light cord. Pulled. Nothing. But in that split second of hope, I saw the walls. Not wallpaper. Asterisk skin. Asterisk. Peeling in patches, revealing muscle and sinew beneath, pulsing faintly, veins throbbing in time with a heartbeat that wasn't mine. The floor, cold, sticky, breathing under my feet. The building wasn't haunted. It was alive, and I wasn't the first to be swallowed. The thing stepped forward, bones cracking like dry twigs. I turned to run, but the door was gone. Just smooth, warm flesh where it had been. The closet door slammed shut behind me, trapping me in the dark. And from the corner, a new sound. Scratching. Small hands. Child-sized. Then a giggle. The same one I'd heard in the hall. The same one I'd heard inside my head. I fell to my knees, sobbing, as the thing crouched in front of me, its breath rancid, its fingers, too many fingers, reaching for my face. And in that final moment, I understood. The names in the notebook weren't victims. They were hosts, and room 307 wasn't a room. It was a mouth. The last thing I felt was its tongue, long, wet, and impossibly warm, dragging across my cheek. And then, silence. But not the silence of peace. The silence of being inside. They found the room empty. Nobody. No blood. No signs of struggle, just a single mud-stained footprint near the bed. Small. Like a child's. The landlord shrugged, tossed the notebook into a trash bag with the rest of the junk left behind, and repainted the walls the same dull beige they'd been for decades. By morning, room 307 looked untouched, ready for the next tenant. But sometimes, late at night, the other guests hear it, a soft, rhythmic tapping from behind the closet wall. Not frantic, not angry, patient, like something waiting. And if you press your ear to the baseboard, just for a second, you might hear a whisper, muffled and wet, as if spoken through layers of flesh. I'm still here. I don't know if that's me, or if I ever left at all, because the truth is worse than being eaten. It's becoming part of it. I feel the building breathe. I feel its hunger. I feel the slow creep of roots through floorboards, binding me deeper, turning my thoughts to static, my memories to echoes. I try to hold on, clinging to the image of sunlight, of a voice, of a name, but it's fading. And in the silence between heartbeats, I hear them, the others, dozens of them, trapped, speaking through the walls, through the pipes, through the breath of the next person who checks in. They don't scream anymore, they guide. I didn't know it then, but when the thing smiled at me, it wasn't claiming me. It was welcoming me. Now, when the new tenant lies awake, trembling at the sound beneath their bed, I want to warn them. I want to scream, run! But all I can do is press against the inside of the wall, press until my face distorts the paint, until my fingers blur into the wood grain, and make the breathing just a little louder. Just enough to be heard. Just enough to be noticed. And when they finally look under the bed, I need them to see me, because the only way out is to let someone else in. And tonight, as I feel the floor shift beneath a new pair of shoes, I find myself hoping, really hoping, that they don't sleep too well.